Hi, Julie. Oh. Hi, Julie. Can you hear me?
How are you?
I am well. Let me get my sound up.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah. How about you?
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Are we the only two on so far?
Sam Minton?
Okay.
I don't know who Sam Minton is.
Oh, yeah, there's quite a few people on.
Yeah. Oh, does it say? It should say.
Oh, I see Jean Canty, Joe Mellon, Michelle is coming on.
Yeah, 6, mine says, right.
Yep, there's 6 of them.
And then there's a picture of a family up here.
That's Joe Mellon.
Oh, okay.
That's the Christmas Story. You know the movie, The Christmas Story?
Yes. So, well, you're sitting down, Julie, so you may or may not be shocked. It's raining.
I know.
Who would have thunk it? It's raining.
It's raining. It is. Indeed it is.
My garden is a tropical rainforest.
Mine was.
I've kind of given up on weeding. I'm going to wait until, September or so when I really have to do something. I guess today is September, but it's hopeless.
Yeah. Well, we've just planted a bumper crop, so.
Oh,
planted some beets and some potatoes. We had our first crop of potatoes. They were wonderful. Excellent cucumber year.
Oh, it is a good cucumber year. Katie Dolan has given me a lot. Yeah.
Yep.
When did the potatoes come in?
About 60 to 70 days after you plant them.
I think of them as being more a fall.
Yeah. Well, I planted some early and got a great crop. So we planted another group of them, and hopefully they'll come out in time for Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. I hope I don't have the cat back here. No, don't have the cat. Did you do anything special this summer? Did you go anywhere?
I did. I went down to see, well, yeah, I traveled a little bit with my daughter.
Where'd you go?
Went to Mississippi. Went to visit my brother Steve.
Does he live in Mississippi?
Yeah.
Michael's came over and fed me and given us a talk.
It's light up better. There we go. Hi, Josh.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Jean.
Hi. Hello, hello, hello.
I should write down who's coming in here.
Julie, looks like you're in the office.
I am. I'm here with my egg rock picture. A lighthouse.
Nice.
I'm doing some work in the den, which is next to the kitchen in my house, and I figured that was not a place I wanted to be for a meeting. Quiet here.
Mm-hmm.
It was a nice ceremony with Virginia last week.
That was very nice.
Yeah, she was pleased. She's amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
She's
Yeah,
amazing.
that was really nice, Julie.
Yeah, yeah. We're so privileged to be able to do that. For those who don't know what we're talking about, the Historical Society presents the Boston Post cane to the oldest resident in Nahant. And Virginia Fisk was the recipient was it Thursday? Last Thursday, here in the office.
102 years old.
102. She'll be 103 in December.
Oh,
Yep. And the only reason she's not working is because of COVID. If COVID hadn't come on, she'd still be volunteering up in the assessor's office. She is a gem and a treasure.
When I saw that article in the Lynn item, maybe that was last December or so, when she turned 102, and I was like,
Yes.
how could she be 102 years old? You know, I see her at
And to
town.
have her faculties,
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
amazing. Only 42 more years to go for me.
We'll get there.
well, about a little less than 30 for me. Whoa,
Oh
it's really picking up. Ooh. Ida is here.
Hello.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, it's good to see you.
Nice
Hi,
to see you as
Judy.
well.
Hi. Hi. It is good to see you. It's like, gosh, feels like it's been forever.
Yeah,
At least a few months.
once
I
town
know.
meeting happens, everything slows down a little, especially for FinCom, right?
Yes. Yeah, well, the break was good. I appreciate it.
Well-deserved break, I'm sure.
Yeah. Um, gosh, hope everybody had a good summer.
Yes, did you?
Yeah, it would have been really much better if it didn't rain so much, but we really couldn't control that.
I was gonna say, yes. Some sun, just a little.
Just a little sun, or
little
and for me, at least a little sun that wasn't in the middle of the day when I had to work. I'm sitting here watching the sun, feeling sorry for myself.
That's no fun.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Tony.
Hi,
How's it
Tony.
going?
Good.
How's Amia? She must be how old now?
She was April 10th, so she's, what's it, 4 or 5 months? She got baptized on Sunday,
Ah,
so that was good. It was nice. We were able to do that, before, hopefully it's not the case with COVID, acting up again, but we were able to do that with like our immediate family and get together, so that was good.
Lovely.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Hope you all are enjoying the summer.
The rain.
It's been a wet one. But I hope that we're not going back to the whole COVID. Do we have to do that all over again, Tony?
Right
Yes.
now it's the governor's really, letting local governments decide how they want to take it on. But I wouldn't be surprised as we get into the colder months, if numbers continue to rise, that we see some of the same, statewide requirements as far as mask wearing goes. And but I think the governors would be hard pressed to, bring back like the restaurant, private sector limitations. That's tough on the businesses, and they're finally starting to get back up to speed. So yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed. We're doing pretty good in Nahant. We do have, in August of last year we had single digit cases, and this year we had like 20 or 21 or 22. So we actually had more cases this August than we did last year. So that's a little alarming.
And I actually saw there was a state listing, and Nahant is up in the top, quintile or whatever, smaller than that, of towns by percentage.
Yeah, vaccinated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I think maybe cases. Is that true or not?
Yeah, our numbers, they they kind of do that per 1,000. So it's like we're always off the charts because we're so small.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Makes sense. Yep.
So it's not anything we need to, considering how vaccinated we are, you'd imagine that our numbers would be pretty low.
Why? Why would you think that?
well, the
Mummies everywhere.
the vaccine, the numbers, the vaccine does prove to improve your chances of not catching the Delta variant, and certainly significantly increases your chances of not ending up in the hospital. But
Right.
there is zero vaccine and zero policy that is going to make you bulletproof to this virus. So that's why you're starting to see, regardless of whether you're vaccinated or not, if you fall in that high risk category of a population, that you should be wearing a mask, either way.
And we have an older population, don't we?
Yeah.
Don't we?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep. Yep. So we're, when it comes to COVID right now, we're kind of taking I will say the town of Nahant has responded to education about, guidance and the right thing to do. The town of Nahant has responded unbelievably well in that regard. So, people have been dealing with this for over a year now, and I like to believe that we're all gonna do the right thing for us and our families, and so we're just trying to let people know what the risks are. And the bottom line is that regardless of whether you're vaccinated or not, if you live with somebody that is unvaccinated or has an underlying health condition, and you're entering a risky environment, you should be wearing a mask, even if you're vaccinated. But
Tony, this is David.
choice.
Can you hear me?
Hi,
Yes.
Dan.
Tony, I wanted to add to something you said there. Can you hear me all right?
Hi,
Yeah.
Dana. Yes.
We can hear you, Dana.
Dana, maybe you can't hear us, but we can hear you.
Oh,
I-
well.
Okay, well, it is 6:05. Looks like all three selectmen, I saw Gene, oh, here he is. All three selectmen are on. Does the finance committee have a quorum?
We have a quorum. We're just missing Vanderslice and Fulgham.
Well,
We
Vanderslice,
have Deborah Warren, who has
Wait a
joined.
minute. I think
Looks
I heard
like,
Vanderslice.
yeah,
Looks like
Bob,
Nahant citizen is Bob Vanderslice.
Oh,
exactly.
thank you, Bob.
That's me.
Hi.
Hi,
Go.
welcome everybody, and especially welcome Deborah.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
Yay.
Well, we're missing John Fulgham, but if FinCom's ready to get started, I think the Board of Selectmen are ready to open the meeting. So it's 6:06 on September 1st, 2021, and the Board of Selectmen meeting is now open.
So the FinCom should make the same declaration.
Okay, I'm sorry. It is September the 1st. The meeting of the FinCom is in order, and we have a quorum. Being present is Bob Vanderslice, Julie Tarmy, Deborah Warren. I have to scroll through the rest of the list to see who else is here. Barbara Beatty, Judy is here. Bill DeWitt Brown is here. Is there anyone else?
Dana, Sheehan.
Dana is here. That's it.
We also, Dan Scripp, town council's on the call, as well as Tom Simbro, who is are, representing Wright Pierce, our engineer on the sewer project. So the purpose of this meeting is to discuss where we are with the fourth sewer main project. Just last week, we opened the bids. And the long story short is the lowest bid that came in was at $8.8 million. We had $4.6 million was authorized in September 2020 through the SRF program. And $4 million was authorized in the spring of 2018. The balance of that 4 million is about 2.3. I'll get the exact number right now, actually.
I have it in front of me. It's Allison.
Oh, hi, Allison. Allison, our accountant, is on the call too.
I didn't have video. I was still eating my dinner. So the balance of the original 4 million is 2.4 million.
2.4.
Mhm.
So meeting 1.6 has been spent thus far? Is that-
Correct.
Yeah.
On sewer work.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's borrowed funds, so it can only be spent on sewer work. That's what the authorization is for.
And then also costs associated with Wright Pierce for getting us through the assessment and the design of the force main. So essentially we have 2.4 million in hand. We have 4.6 authorized. That totals $7 million. And the bid that just came in, the 3 bids we received, the lowest was from Gioso and Sons at $8,831,287.50.
Tony, do you have these bids available to share on the screen, or just so everybody's clear on the numbers? Or
see if I can pull up the. I don't have like the bid sheet.
I have what you texted us, but I don't know how to
Yeah.
show it on the screen. But
Yeah, that's, I have my notes on my piece of paper, but essentially the cheapest one came in at 8.8 million. The next cheapest one came in at 10.8 million. And the highest bid came in at 12.9 million. All 3 contractors that submitted bids are qualified contractors, good contractors. The low bid, Gioso, actually has another job on the Linway, so it was probably able to be a little bit more competitive because they have that other job and are mobilized or will be mobilizing for another job as well. Tom Simbro is on the line here, and when we get a little bit further down in this conversation, he can answer any questions that you might have regarding why the project came in higher than expected. But just to provide, that's the short story. Provide a little bit of a longer story or history of what we're dealing with here. In 2018, the town experienced a $1 million+ sewer break on the Linway. At the time, we looked at a lot of our sewer capital needs and developed a multi-year plan that kind of encompassed not only the sewer main, but the II work related in town, which is based inflow and infiltration. So the internal sewer system of the town and the pump stations. When I came in the fall of 2018, I kind of looked at that plan and felt like we were focused kind of on the wrong things. We should have been prioritizing, I felt, the force main first, given it's the most critical need. And we decided, even though under procurement laws, it's not required to procure for an engineer, we decided this project was so important and so detailed that we wanted to get a couple different perspectives, and we put the engineering services out to bid. Wright Pierce was the winner of that selection, and under utilizing that $4 million that was borrowed in the spring of 2018, we brought them on, and the first task for them was to do an assessment of our force main, and basically explain to us where our problem areas were. And through that assessment, essentially they discovered that the thickness of our force main got worse and worse the further away from Nahant you got, the closer you got to the treatment plant. Some of those issues were really emphasized through the process of electrolysis. So under the Linway, there's a high water table of salt water. There's a lot of gas. There's a lot of electrical conduit, and all those elements combined with a ductile iron pipe led to a number of our major breaks that we were experiencing. So we said, okay, now we know, what we're dealing with. What are, the next part of their project was to provide kind of a menu of options for us to consider moving forward. And that went from dig and replacing in a new trench the existing pipe under the Linway, slip lining our existing pipe under the Linway, direct drilling under the channel from the causeway to Lynn Water Sewer Treatment Plant. We even looked at, could we just continue down the Linway and maybe hook into MWRA? We looked at feasibility and cost. Economically and feasibility, the best option for us was to slip line our existing pipe. We got a cost estimate for that project around $6 million, 6.1, 6.2. And so we said, all right, well, we don't have $6 million, so we need to go get funding for that. So the next step, we went to the sewer revolving fund at the state and applied for that long-term low-interest loan, and we were approved and authorized for $4.6 million. We had that teed up for the spring town meeting of 2020. Town meeting got delayed because of the COVID pandemic to September. On September 26th, the town approved the $4.6 million borrowing. And on September 28th, our sewer main broke 2 days later. And DEP, in between that break and the large break of spring of 2018, we probably had one or two as well. And so DEP called us and said, we can't ignore this problem. We are going to provide an administrative consent order on the town to fix the sewer main by a certain date, handle your II issues by a certain date, or at least create a capital plan by a certain date for that, and a couple other things related to our pump station, improvements to our pump stations. So we said, okay, well, listen, we just got this approved 2 days ago. We're certainly making the efforts. It's just something that we can't control, but we're making the effort. And we have, the next step was to complete the design. We met that milestone as laid out in the administrative consent order, submitted it to DEP, submitted it to DCR for their review. All boxes were checked, and we put together the bid documents. Bid documents went out in early August. we had a pre-construction meeting in early August, and then the final bid last week. Bids were due and we opened them, and that's where we are today. I'll stop there if anyone has any questions about where we've been or.
So just some supporting or clarifying comments. So the estimate of the $6.2 million estimate for the project was from Wright Pierce, correct? And the initial approved funding is the so-called SRF funding, right?
The initial 4 million in the spring of 2018 was just borrowed through the town.
Yeah, the initial chunk though.
The 4.6 million approved in September of 2020 is through SRF. We actually have not borrowed that money yet, even though it's been approved.
I guess I'd say that Wright Pierce's assessment that our problems are concentrated in the force main along the Linway have been substantiated by the multiple failures we've seen there. So and I think that the letter, Tom Simbro, that Wright Pierce submitted explaining or providing some commentary and context on the bids we received was very helpful for me personally. So thanks for that. I assume FinCom has copies of that letter from Wright Pierce.
That's just a draft, so
Okay.
they don't have copies of it yet, but certainly we'll be sharing it with them. I see your chat message that Dana's looking for the dial-in number.
Yes.
I will try to figure out how to get that to him. Are there other questions before I move forward, or I ask Tom to maybe speak a little bit about the bid process and what he found to be factors in that increased price?
Well, I guess I would just add that, as you pointed out, Tony, due to our multiple failures, we are under a mandate from DEP to essentially get this thing done to a prescribed schedule. And
I'm sorry again, what's the timeline then? What's the date that we have to be done?
So our administrative consent order has a number of dates in there. I will share that order with you all. But essentially our completion date is the end of the calendar year.
It's soon.
Is that possible?
Yes. Our Gioso, the low bidder, and Tom Simro from Wright Pierce have been in communication, and they feel strongly that they will be able to meet that date. It's definitely had an impact in the costs that we saw, that quick turnaround of a schedule. But the longer, while it is a quick date, we want to get the job done as soon as possible because we don't want to be spending money on fixing another break.
No, I'm not advocating waiting any longer. Lord knows we've been talking about it for years, but I just want to know if it was physically possible in that, I don't know, just seems like a lot of work to be done in a really quick time.
that's the schedule in the bid, right, Tony?
And thank you. So the impact then to the two things. What's the impact to the town? And then will we then be done talking about sewer?
No, the impact to the town for this increase in cost
Oh, no, I get that they got to pay for it. I don't mean that at all. I mean, I knew that that's going to be impact. I meant, what's the impact to the town for getting the work done? Like getting out of town, the ability to use the system. What's that kind of impact?
Well, the lifespan of the new force main is 50+ years. It's a plastic material that will not be susceptible to electrolysis like our current system. So, when the reason it's such a critical need for us is that when that force main breaks, we have to shut down our pump station, but there's still material being sent to the pump station from all the properties in town. And we have to get that material from the pump station to the treatment center. So while we're dealing with the break, we have big, pump trucks come into town, which are extremely costly, plus the cost of the work to dig, replace, and fix. So, by having the job completed, we can rest easy knowing that, we have a system. The most critical issue of our system is solved. But we still have a lot of other needs. Part of that administrative consent order, it prioritizes this portion from the rotary to the treatment plant, but we still have from the rotary back to Nahant, which in the assessment of Wright Pierce, is something that isn't as critical. It's in pretty good shape. Something we need to really look at in the next, 10 years or so. We also have a force main that goes from the wharf to the golf course area, the Willow Road force main. That needs looking at more in the short-term period, potentially replaced. We have a number of needs in our Ward Road pump station and the other satellite pump stations around town. And then the other big pressure that DEP is putting on municipalities across the state is handling the II work. So inflow and infiltration is fresh water or non-sewage water getting into the system. So that's either because you have cracked pipes, or you have illegal inputs of downspouts or sump pumps into the sewer system. And
Hey,
we
Tony.
know, yes.
Tony, what happens if we don't meet the timeline?
Well, there's a financial fine that DEP can impose on us, and it escalates over time. But DEP, we've kept DEP. I mean, they're the first person we call every time something happens, whether it be a break, whether it be, the bids going out, after the pre-construction meeting, when we got the response, so we've been in constant communication. They've actually, already extended one portion of the timeline that was in the administrative consent order. So they're flexible and they understand that we are, up against some unique challenges here that, are out of our control, and they would not, hit us with a fine for something like that.
Oh,
Tony,
good.
can I go back to Judy's question for a second?
Yeah.
One of the things Judy was asking, I think if I understood you, Judy, is what would be the impact of coming in and out of town? In other words, would there be a lane drop on the Linway? Would there be, only
During construction?
exactly?
Tom, do you want to take that? What kind of impact to traffic there would be during construction of this project?
Yep, there'll be a lane drop for sure.
On the
And there may be
Linway
times,
or on the causeway or both?
no, just on the Linway,
Okay.
just on the Linway. And one of the good parts about it is this force main is on the uh, heading west-south. So during the day, most of the traffic is going into the city. So they're actually, our work will be on the other side of the Linway. So we're going to try to get out of there before the commuters come back.
So it's going to be on the ocean side of the Linway.
We're going to be on the ocean side,
Right.
yep, for the majority of it. There's
Mhm.
parts where it goes a little bit on the other side, but we're on the ocean side, correct. And Tony, talking about the deadline for DEP, also, the first step as part of the construction work is to set up a bypass so that the contractor can clean the pipe and slip line it. So actually the first 4 weeks when they set the bypass up, you've just eliminated the risk of more breaks on the Linway. So as far as DEP is concerned, I think once that bypass is up, they're certainly going to be a lot more flexible with the dates. And if they see a contractor like Gioso, who's probably going to hit this with 3 crews, making every effort to get it done by that date, I've never seen them, take action for best effort, and especially with the bypass eliminating the risk anyways. So.
And Tom, functionally, the sewer system will be no impact because the first step they do is put in this bypass pipe, right? So
It'll be seamless to the community and to the pumping station. Yep.
Tom, does weather play an impact in the timeline?
It can. It certainly can. If we have a hard winter, an early hard winter, then it is going to slow construction.
Right.
But we'll get the bypass up, probably start at the end of September or at least the first part of October and get that all set up. Once that's in place, we'll be in good shape.
Great.
You typed a couple of questions in the chat. Do you want to ask them to the group, and I'll do my best to answer them? You're muted though.
I don't understand what a forced main is. A forced main, piping, sewerage that is forced through a pipe?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Versus
It's
like
pipe under pressure.
Where did the monies from the sewer repair that occurred 2 days after the town meeting come from?
That original $4 million borrowing from spring of 2018.
Oh, okay. So that gives us the 2.4 left over. Yes.
Essentially, we've been using that money to make repairs and to pay for Wright Pierce.
Are we also interested in possible federal grants or other sources of funding prior to borrowing? And maybe we can get some funds from the infrastructure bill that is now pending?
The answer is yes and no. Yes, we are interested in actively pursuing that, but not prior to borrowing because of the deadline that we're dealing with, and the risk of delay on this project and more breaks. Borrowing seems to be the better option to find the additional funding for now so that we can continue on this schedule. But we are, there's money at the state level and at the federal level that we're pursuing, but it's just not anything that's going to turn around that quick, which would lead to delays and more risk. So, like I said, there's more work to be done after the force main. Those pockets of money, we're going to try to get money from those pockets to pay for that type of work that isn't under as hard of a deadline.
Tony, let me jump in for a moment here to try to answer DeWitt's question in another way. I think we all agree that we need to get this work done soon, and we have an opportunity with this contractor at $8 million to get it done prior to next year. So I hope that we're all in agreement with that. The question is how we're going to fund that extra. Apparently, we're eligible for additional funds from the state to borrow. But to answer your question, DeWitt, because I mentioned it to Tony too, that there could be money in the infrastructure bill if and when it's passed. But I think what we'll be doing is asking the town to authorize the Board of Selectmen to borrow. We have about $7 million now. I wouldn't anticipate actually borrowing that until we need it. You know,
Well, you don't really have $7 million now. You've got 2.4 and you've got authorized 4.6 borrowing. So what we're talking about is another 1.8 borrowing authorization.
We will, well, we have the authorization for $7 million right now, is what I'm saying. And we're probably going to be seeking an additional $3 to $4 million on top of that. And I think Tony will talk about that through the state low interest loan. What I'm saying is that if town meeting authorizes that borrowing, we may not actually go out to borrow until next January, depending on where we're at in the project. So if the infrastructure bill gets passed, there's money there, we may have an opportunity, but we'll see.
Should we be looking to borrow more in the event that while we're doing this project, we have another break or two breaks?
Well, yes, I'm not really concerned about another break between the rotary and the treatment plant, because once that bypass line gets established, which is the first step, we are in, we're kind of in the safe zone then for that. Of course, we could experience, any number of other issues elsewhere in the system that might need to be attended to. And we have the other items in the administrative consent order, like pump station improvements and II capital needs. So, for me, we have, well, let me back up a little bit. So when this bid was opened and we are looking at a shortfall in funds, we, sat down and talked about what are our options. We could rebid the project. The risks in that is time. Again, time equals risk because you could experience another break. B, a bid protest of the current bidders. And C, if you rebid, you could have higher bids come in of less qualified contractors, and by law, you'd have to go with the lowest bid there. So we kind of looked at that and said, that's not really a great option. Then we said, all right, option number two, what if we just award $7 million worth of the work? That's what we have in hand. Well, again, risk of a bid protest. And secondly, what is $7 million worth of the work? And how much, the 1.8 that we don't fund, what is that and what risk does that present? I don't really like the idea of segmenting the project, even if it eliminated a bid protest potential, because that area of the pipe has been identified as a critical need. So I'd be concerned about chopping a part of the project off. So what other option do we have? Find more money and award the project now. So we could either do that through grants. I called over to the state to see what was going on with the governor's ARPA money. That some of it is planned for sewer work, but it's going through a legislative process and isn't going to be ready in time for us. We looked at the infrastructure bill, again, going through a legislative process at the federal level, not going to be in time for us. Also, when those two bills pass and that money becomes available, there's going to be a lot more work out there for these contractors, right? So we're going to be competing against a lot of other communities doing similar jobs. What if we borrow on our own? So Allison Allison spoke with our financial advisors, and with them put together a debt schedule of 2.5, 2.8, and $3 million. The interest rate, if we were to borrow that on our own right now, is 3.5%. So what else? How, the 4.6 that was authorized in September of 2020 through the SRF program is a 2% borrowing interest rate, 2% interest rate. So we had a call with the SRF program, explained they're under DEP. We brought them all together, explained to them our situation, and asked them if there was any additional borrowing available under our previous $4.6 million award. And we told them, ideally we would probably ask for an additional 3 million, making it a 7.6 total under SRF. And they said they had the room for us, which is a good thing. So that's, 2% versus 3.5 could produce, almost $500,000 in savings for the town.
Allison, what's the life of a sewer bond?
It's 20 years.
20.
Mm-hmm. You can do 30, but the town has historically done 20 years.
So the reason we would go with the additional 3, we have 7 now, we're short 1.8. I'm being careful because this is a public meeting and I don't want to spend all of our money on cost overruns on this project, but it's very possible that happens. Plus we have the other II work and pump station improvements. But as Mark mentioned, if we go for town, if we went to the town and asked for the additional 3 and lumped it into the 4.6 that was already previously approved, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to go and borrow 7.6 right off the gate. We can just borrow what we need to complete this project now and have the other authorizations sitting there. But maybe those other pockets of money come into play before we have to borrow that additional amount.
Tony, I have a question for Tom or you. Is this contract a lump sum contract or itemized contract?
It's itemized.
Okay.
So you really should have, some contingency.
So itemized mean it's not a fixed fee. It's essentially like a time and materials.
Yeah, horizontal jobs like this are usually done with, anywhere from 20 to 30 bid items. There'll be mobilization, pricing, per foot of the pipe, manholes, and all the other miscellaneous. If it was like a treatment plant or in addition to a treatment plant, those usually come in just as a lump sum.
Do we have any unexpected underground issues like ledge or anything?
Well, the good thing about we're in the same trench, and we're pushing our pipe through an existing pipe. So even though we have like a little line item for ledge in there, we don't expect any, so everything we did has been pre-dug.
Yeah.
And the other good thing is that we're going in the same footprint. So places where we can't slip line, we're still going to be right where the other pipe is. So where the existing pipe is. So we already know that there's that corridor with all the other utilities that we can put our pipe through.
So there shouldn't be, it doesn't sound like there's much unexpected items in this contract.
I don't think so.
Right, okay.
How quickly are they prepared to begin, and what's the expected duration?
They're already assuming that this job is going to go forward because they know the importance of it. And so they've already sent us over a lot of their contract, the MBE, WPBE participation. They have shop drawings that they're fine tuning right now because they know time is of the essence. So they're preparing for this as a fast track project. They want to do this job. They've got a 54-inch pipeline job that they're doing for the city of Lynn. It's adjacent to ours, just a little bit south. I think that job is $25 million. And they're waiting on pipe. They've had the job for quite a while, and they're not getting a pipe delivery until the mid-January. So I think one of the reasons why they were pretty competitive in putting their bid together is they got pipeline crews that have been sitting on a pipeline job for waiting for materials. So they really, this is a good project for them. They can put those crews on this, get it done for December, for the end of December, and then that crew's just gonna, once the 54-inch pipe comes in, they're just gonna continue. So it worked out for them for sure. So the plan is we're gonna be working with them to get all the shop drawings approved within the next week to 2 weeks. So because lead times are just so critical here, we don't want to lose that advantage, that time. And then we would expect them to really start mobilizing the end of September, first part of October, and then get the bypass in within a couple of weeks, and then start doing their entry pits and their exit pits and start pulling the pipe through.
Hey, Tom,
The term,
Tom, what happens if the piping comes in, let's say in November, the 54-inch? Do they continue with our project, or are they going to split it, or have people crews jump onto the Lynn project?
Now, the pipe that they're going, it's a CSO project, and the pipe that's ordered, that 54-inch is zinc coated for corrosion resistance. And the best they can do is the middle of January.
Great.
That's their optimistic delivery.
So, Tony, I think we had this discussion. I just want to sort of confirm it. So maybe Dan or Allison, we can enter into a contract without the funds in hand as long as we have the authorization to borrow?
Yes, I verified that today with Hilltop Securities, our financial advisors. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So the good thing is, while if we decide to seek the additional funds through borrowing, through SRF, or even of our own, it would require a town meeting, and to do it quickly would be a special town meeting. But the good news is we have that 2.4 million in hand. So even though it would take some time for us to get a meeting put together and scheduled and get through that process, and then once even that gets authorized, the trust for DEP's trust that actually would approve us meets on October 8th. And then we go through the whole contract process of doing the borrowing.
we have the 4.6 as well, which should be relative.
We don't have
it. No, we don't have it in hand, but
Right.
it should be relatively fast to get our hands on it to affect the borrowing. Yes.
We could do it that way, or more likely, if we decide to go to town meeting for the additional borrowing, we would just increase that 4.6 to, by 3 million, and then just do one borrowing for 7.6.
Which is a more cost-effective way of doing it.
Yeah, and like I said, with the 2.4 we have in hand, that's enough to get us, through October, and then that additional 7.6, or however much of that we would actually borrow, we could have that in time to get this project done. So the point I'm making is that 2.4 that we have in hand allows us to start the project as soon as the town, if the town were to approve at town meeting, we can sign the contract and get going, because we have money we have cash flow up front.
Allison, would you, once we have the authorization to borrow, we figure out what we need and we start borrowing, is it quicker to go out for short-term borrowing, or would you do a revenue anticipation note of some sort?
So since it's through the SRF, it's actually a completely different process, which I learned about today. So it seems to me like it's almost like a reimbursable grant. What you do is you submit invoices to the Clean Water Trust, and then they release the cash to you within a couple weeks time frame. So it's a little bit different than going out to borrow the town by itself, where you would receive all of the funds up front. So it's a different process.
It's kind of like a construction loan.
Correct. That's exactly how it was compared to a construction loan.
Okay. Thanks.
And then, but the good thing about that is, even if we get a higher authorization, we're only going to be reimbursed for that money that's actually spent. So we don't have to borrow up to the full authorization amount.
Great. Perfect.
And in fact, if you do it that way, you're not spending anything that you haven't already been invoiced for, right?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
So if we can, get DEP to be a little bit more flexible on the other items in the administrative consent order, and we don't, run into any other, critical time-sensitive needs, essentially we'll only be using, money for the force main project.
Tony, if I may ask, am I correct? I heard you say we have to have a town meeting because this is about money to get this approved. How quickly do you think we could get a town meeting up? And would it need to be outdoors, the way we did our last one, all of, sort of a little bit of detail on that?
So I've started to explore it. Honestly, I wanted to have this conversation first and not get too far ahead of myself.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rushing you. I just heard you say that.
No, that's good. It's a great question. So, the Board of Selectmen have the power to call a town meeting. It follows the same requirements, a special town meeting as an annual town meeting, where it needs to be posted publicly for 14 days and a book needs to be delivered to every registered voter's home 7 days in advance. So, essentially it's how quickly can we turn that around? It is September. So, we do have, I'm sure a lot of us have planned, weekends this month. So we might be looking at a weeknight option. It would only be a one article warrant. So hopefully something we can get through rather quickly. I'm, still looking into whether we have a 75-person quorum amount required, or if we could get away with something lower, given the current conditions, but ideally, this is something that I'd rather do it indoors in the town hall to do away with all the other costs of tent and chairs and audio and whatnot. So it's really, I think we could turn it realistically. I think we could turn it around fairly quickly. It's just a matter of kind of plugging those puzzle pieces together and nailing down a date.
That's helpful. Thank you.
The Board of Selectmen meet next Wednesday, the 8th. So my goal would be to, nail down that information prior to then.
So Tony, does that mean that we send out another book, that there's a cost involved, that like we do the whole thing all over again for one item?
Yeah, this book should only, if we were to do this book should only be 8 to 12 pages long. As far as, we would do everything we can to, help the finance committee out with supporting documents. I've asked Tom Simber of Wright Pierce to put together that, the draft one-page letter that, discusses the results of the procurement, to put together a one-page document on the assessment process that he took. Allison already has, the debt schedule, so those supporting documents are already being put together. The Board of Selectmen and I haven't actually asked the Board of Selectmen yet, but I'm sure they would be supportive of putting together like a cover page of some sort or a statement that we could provide. So we would try to make it as easy as possible for the FinCom to turn a book around quickly. And I don't expect it to be, nearly as expensive, being that small of a book.
Is there,
I don't see any issues in just the mechanics of turning a book around.
And we have, we kind of went through this before, but we have confirmed that we have to or should mail out a actual paper copy of the warrant article.
Yeah, I was really worried really about the cost. We don't generally plan for more than one meeting a year. This last meeting was very expensive. And if we have to do the same thing or some sort of a crowd spacer, it's going to be really expensive again.
Yeah, I would, like I said, I mean, our goal here would be, to do this indoors, which cuts down a ton of costs. One article warrant, which cuts down a lot of costs. And, I think that whatever money we have budgeted for town meeting for the spring, whatever amount we cut into that for this cost, we can, if we need more in the spring, we could always do a reserve fund transfer, because this is an unexpected cost.
How small a quorum do we need in order to meet indoors?
Well, our standard is 75. That's in the town charter or town bylaws is 75, but
During COVID,
so
no difference.
So under COVID, we were provided the authority to decrease that amount under the governor's public health emergency order. We did vote to decrease that, I think, to 35. But the governor's order has now been lifted. So, I think we're probably looking at 75 people.
So I understand that the governor's order has been lifted, but we really have to be practical in keeping our population safe, correct? So
Yeah.
even if the governor says we don't have to have a limit, putting 300 people inside the town hall doesn't make sense. It's not safe.
Yeah, So legal's taking a look at what our options are there, if we could potentially seek, legislative authority in an emergency basis that would allow us to decrease the quorum amount for this special town meeting. How quickly we could turn that around. The legislature could turn that around is a question.
I mean, but Tony, even if we decrease the quorum amount, we can't stop people from attending.
No.
So that, happily, Nahant's residents are very engaged. So I don't think it's a quorum issue at all. I think it's a safety issue.
So I completely agree. I completely agree with you, Judy, and it's definitely something that's, been on my mind. I think that
Are there any rulings or precedent for town meetings over Zoom or something like it?
not with open town meeting. Because we don't have a representative town meeting,
Yeah.
there is no way to really ensure that the folks involved in voting are registered voters.
Right.
But could we spread it over two venues, say the school auditorium or something?
So that actually adds costs.
Oh.
Because you have to have a moderator in both places. Both places have to be able to talk to each other. We have explored that option. I mean, I think that, we would provide a remote option for people, except for the fact that they wouldn't be able to vote. And they, so if they wanted to be, I don't know how it would really go, but we could potentially make an effort to explain to our residents the issue that we're dealing with here. And, try to set it up in a way that we're trying to get 75 people, we're trying to stay under 100 people. Obviously, if you feel very passionate about participating in town meeting and of this subject matter, you're more than welcome to be there. But we are, trying to keep the space safe. In that light, we do need 75 people though. And then of course, we would, if I were to do it inside, we would require masks. The other good thing is that with it being a one article warrant, it shouldn't take too long. And then I'd also be exploring some type of, air filtration to, try to find a company that could come in and help us get air moving throughout that room, as efficiently as possible for that evening.
Open all the windows and doors.
And Tony, my experiences with one article special town meetings is that we struggle to get a quorum, and like you said, it probably wouldn't last even an hour.
Especially on a weekday.
While I agree with Judy's concern, I also agree with you, Mark, that I'd also be struggling to get 75 people there and would have to try to make an effort to maybe like get a RSVP list out or something and see if, try to find out ahead of time if people plan on coming, so that we can kind of prepare for that. Again, if we can get some type of emergency legislation to lower that quorum, all the better. The other option is to have it outside, but with weather, that's the issue, is then you're dealing with a tent, seats, and the like.
I think that, personally, I think we should either have it inside at the town hall, or if we really feel like we need to have it outside, no tent, and hope for the best. That expense is very substantial. I mean, we do have a high, not to be to minimize the concern, but we have a high vaccination rate in town. People can wear masks. Kids are going to school. People are going to church. People are going to the Red Sox games. you know, if you really had a concern, you know, you could skip the meeting, but, you know, again, hate to sound cavalier, but those are some of the realities. I think, you know, like you said, with all the windows wide open and some kind of filtration system.
Yeah, so I checked with, I did speak with Debbie Murphy, our health nurse, and, you know, schools are in session. There's over, you know, 75 people in the schools, and they're unvaccinated. We also have, you know, our churches are allowing indoor activity at 100-person cap. So, you know, it's happening and it's doable. And I think we could, with masks and some help on the air filtration side and having a speedy meeting, you know, I think we could get through it, you know, in a safe way.
What is the last date, the latest date we could have the meeting if we have to delay? I mean, could we push this until next annual town meeting?
No.
Definitely not that late, because that delays the project and, you know, adds more risk.
Is it January?
No, I was, you know, the latest I would argue would be early October.
Right, because in January, GOC will probably get their pipes and then they'll be on to the Lynn project. And then we're looking at late spring before they can do the work. And, you know, we're risking more breaks.
And plus we're under the administrative consent order to get the project done by the end of the year.
Julie's right. There's too much risk in delaying it.
Too much. I mean, I wear my mask no matter where I go, except in my office or at home. So, you know, I think that's the safest thing that we can do is wear our masks, open up all the windows and doors, get some filtration in there, get it done quickly, you know, professionally, quickly, and get the project moving.
I agree, Julie.
Josh, do we have a comparison of how much it would cost to do it outdoors without a tent? Because I agree with you. We've got to keep the cost down. Without a tent versus indoors with some kind of special filtration. Do we have any cost comparison there, Tony? Any sense of that?
No, I don't. I guess the risk of it is if it's bad weather, you gotta move on to the next day. We are, you know, we're talking about a weeknight. So
it'll be dark.
It gets dark now, earlier, and by the end of September, it'll be getting dark closer to 7.
Right.
You know, so.
Indoors sounds like it's easier.
Yeah, and the audio, the ability to, you know, the audio system, the ability to broadcast it, it's all set up in the town hall. So, I mean, I haven't done the exact calculation, but I would assume it's cheaper to do it inside.
Yeah, I just wanted, I get it.
And, you know, it's for me, it's not really a like cost comes into play, obviously. But for me, it's more of like having that security of getting it done in that night. And, you know, we do have COVID money that we can use to pay for, you know, the things that are going to make the indoor space more safe for us to get it done. It's not coming out of our operating budget. So, yeah, that's kind of where I lean.
I think we just got to get it done. I mean, this sewer problem has been plaguing us for years. You know, the longer we delay, the greater the financial risk. We have the DEP requirements. I think we just got to step up and get it done as quickly as possible.
We've counted on the town to step up on a lot of projects this year, so getting 75 people to commit shouldn't be that difficult a problem.
I agree. I think we can get 75 people.
But if we can get approval for a lower number, that would be even better.
Yep.
Judy, I can see you're speaking, but we can't hear you.
Let me try this one. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Is there any other business we can conduct at the same time?
Honestly, I'd prefer not to. I'd rather just have it be a one article warrant, get in and get out.
Fair. Thank you.
Okay, so if there aren't any other questions, I think it sounds like we're all on the same page that going for the additional authorization for the borrowing so that we can award this contract and get construction started is where we all feel we need to go, which would then require a special town meeting. So over the next few days, I'll speak with each of you on an individual basis. And we'll hope to have an update next week.
Hey, Tony.
Yeah.
Do you need a formal recommendation and vote from either of the two boards?
Well, the Board of Selectmen, would have to vote to schedule a special town meeting. So that, but that's not on the agenda tonight.
Okay.
So
no.
No.
And then, but Bob, wouldn't we have to then vote on what you give us, or how would that work? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the next piece is, when Tony works his way through the details, this, I assume, will follow the standard practice for a town meeting. So we will have to get together and prepare the book. It sounds like he's going to do a lot of the work for him. He and his staff is going to do a lot of the work for us. So it should be more a matter of reading through it, approving it, making any final changes to it.
Right. And voting our recommendation.
And vote, right, yes. And we would have to vote our recommendation on it.
And,
Yes.
and a brief rationale, where we always put a little rationale.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and potentially a cover letter.
Right.
So I guess what I would ask, obviously don't break the open meeting law and share any of your thoughts with each other outside of an open meeting, but maybe you could start, jotting down a few notes that you might want to include in such a thing. And because, it will be a quick turnaround. I'm assuming, it is a smaller book, so our printer should be able to turn it around faster, but I'm assuming it'll be, pretty quick. So like I said, I'll speak with you guys individually over the next couple days here, get everything lined up and see where we're going to go. Next week, Monday is a holiday. So I'll have to get the Board of Selectmen agenda posted on Friday. And any meeting that you guys need to post following the Board of Selectmen's meeting Wednesday would have to get posted on Tuesday. So like I said, I got 24 hours to figure out all these details and get back to all of you, but we'll get it done. If we're trying to move as fast as possible.
Just for FinCom, we do have a meeting next Wednesday, the 8th. So we could potentially, if everything's in order, vote to authorize a special town meeting at that time.
What time is that meeting?
I think it's
usually 6.
So should FinCom consider scheduling a meeting for next Thursday?
Thinking yes.
Sure.
So I'll let you know. I need to talk to the clerk, I need to talk to the moderator, I need to talk to our printer. There's a few just tiny details I gotta square away. And I'll confirm that with you. Like I said, if you guys were to book a meeting for Thursday, you have to submit it to the clerk on Tuesday. So you guys have a little bit more time than us.
So there's no time requirement for the book?
The book needs to hit doorstep 7 days before whatever the town meeting date would be.
Okay.
So first I gotta figure that out. Then I gotta figure out how much time the printer needs. That's how I kind of gotta work my way backwards. All right.
Sounds good, Tony.
Okay.
All right. Well, unless there's any other questions or comments, I think just each board has to vote to adjourn.
All right, so from the FinCom side, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, second,
All in favor? Vanderslice, aye.
Beatty, aye.
Army, I.
Warren, I.
Sahora, aye.
Whit, are you with us? Dana?
Dana's got a thumbs up.
Dana's got
Brown,
a,
aye.
we'll take that as an aye and, okay. And Jeff Lewis as well.
Okay.
Is Jeff on, is Jeff still on the FinCom?
No.
I'm gonna let Jeff answer that question.
Okay.
No.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. As an-
Josh, I move to adjourn Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Seconded.
Roll call vote, all in favor?
Gene Canty, aye.
Cullen and I.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you all.
Madam
Thank you
Right.
all.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.